right at the outset of the bowl preparation that things were going to be different this year, preparing. What kind of things specifically happened?
I think the two main things, we moved some practices to the morning, and we sort of changed the routine, get the guys up, get them going. And the second thing is we've done a lot more work, good on good, what I call good on good. We've worked against the first team, probably as much as 20 minutes a day, minimum, in practices. And I don't think we did that much in previous years. Our scout teams were really thin this year. Our football team is very thin as far as total numbers, and our scout work has been very difficult. And I think that has helped in preparation. And I would assume those are the two things. There may be some other little things that he's done, tweaking the schedule, different things like that. Those are the two things to me that have been the most important, especially working with each other, first team against first team.
Okay.
Sean, was there a part of you, because of where you were, that always wondered what a bowl experience would be like, and I guess how's it been for you to do this for the first time?
It's a little bit the same as a national championship type game, in the 1AA category, so to speak. You come in, you got 4 or 5 days to prepare. They take you around, you do different, see sites and have various events. It's definitely a little more laid back because in that sense you have a championship on the line, and here is such an important game, but not not playing for it all. But there's not much difference other than the game itself.
Sean, could you speak a little bit about the Florida State defense? And I know you probably can go back and look at what they did in '09, but they were among the worst in almost every category in the country. And what you see this year and the types of things they're doing, that can you believe they were as bad as they were in '09 from what you see in '10?
To tell you the truth, I haven't even looked at '09. I mean, it's a whole different football team. It's a different group of guys. The way the coaches scheme of things they're running. They've got better athletes I see up front. The 4 down up front are as good as you're going to see in the country. They're going to come off the edge and press you. When you think of the Seminoles, you think of great teams that can run. Secondary players, linebackers, and D-line. They're just great skill position players from top to bottom, not just their linebackers and secondary, even their D linemen. I mean, you look at their ends, they can get up the field and pressure you so well. It's going to be a challenge. They're a good defense.
Right here.
Sean, you started the year with kind of limited depth on the line, and really outside of the injury to Garrett a few days ago, you've kind of been healthy the whole season. Is that pretty amazing to you that you got through the whole year, 13 games without a real major injury?
It's really not. I think if they're well conditioned, they're well prepared, things don't catch them off guard quite as easily. You tend to make it through a season. I've been a coach that's had a limited number of depth ever since I've started coaching, especially on the offensive line. So this year was no different. You try to prepare 5 guys each and every week. You get a couple of backups, a little bit more reps than others, so they can fill in various spots. But you like to go in with 7 or 8 guys, and then this year it turned out to be 6 or 5 guys. But we've got 5 that can go out there and play, and a 6th guy that can rotate a little bit for us. So we'll see where we end up at the end of the night, New Year's Eve.
And that.
Ellis, Rodney Hudson, Florida State's guard. How good is he? Very many guys you've seen through the years.
Very good football player. They're a good-looking bunch overall, and he stands out. Very mobile, physical. He pulls a lot in their power schemes and their other schemes, and he does a great job at the point of attack, getting movement. Brad has been very impressed with him, and we've obviously seen some pretty good offensive linemen going through the schedule in our conference. But he is a really fine football player. And I've coached against Coach Rick Trickett several times now. I think he probably is one reason they're so good up front. He does a great job of coaching. And kid reminds me of a center they had at West Virginia when I was at Mississippi State. He could do some things physically that allowed him to do some blocking schemes that sometimes other teams wouldn't even try. He could reach a technique outside that another kid can't do, and that allows him to do some things that really help him. And their X's and O's too. But he is a fine football player.
You remember the guy's name, West Virginia player's name?
I don't.
Sean, what's Garrett's status? I guess he practiced yesterday, but we were told after practice he aggravated his injury.
I don't anticipate him playing. I really don't. He tried to give it a go yesterday, tweaked it a little bit in our team situation, but I don't expect him to be available Friday.
Okay, Phil? Okay, right here.
Ellis, can you just talk about Florida State's offense, what you've seen on film, what jumps out to you about them, what makes them successful?
Well, first thing is athleticism, up front and in the skill positions. They're starting to resemble some of the old Florida State teams that could really stretch you with the skill positions and very physical in the offensive line. The quarterback situation has been the biggest difficulty for us. They're both very mobile. They're both 220 pounds plus. They both have very strong arms. It seems to me that when Ponder plays, there's a lot more checked plays at the line of scrimmage, either his knowledge through experience or the thing that they trust him with more, the game plan. And then when Manuel plays, it's a whole lot more physical running game with a lot more option. But you really can't take two different game plans for the two different guys. But they're a very good football team. Statistically, they've done very well. They've moved the ball on some people at critical times. I mean, it's very difficult to take any one thing away from them. They're very balanced. A good group of running backs. They play as many as 5 of them a game, including their fullback. I think the tight end not playing would be a huge loss. We have not seen the backup tight end that much. That makes it a little bit difficult for us, though, in the scheme of preparation. Will those personnel packages disappear, or will they find another way to do it? So from our preparation and from those standpoints, it's been pretty difficult to make sure you've got everything covered and repped everything and have a plan for everything. But the athleticism make it very difficult. I guess probably about the 8th or 9th time I've coached against Coach Fisher, and he does a great job using personnel. You know, he's had guys like Jamarcus Russell and guys like Manuel, and he can adapt and make the things work and fit that player and play to that player's strength. So it makes it very difficult. But they've done a super job, and it's going to be very difficult, very difficult task in trying to defend them.
Back.
Obviously, Sean, Gary can't go. It's been an unbelievably up and down year for him. What do you say to him now that his final game, he's not going to be able to play? How do you kind of calm him down? What do you say to him as a person more than a player?
That's a great question, because when I found out he injured his knee, I really sat back and said, boy, that's going to be devastating if he can't play in that final game, because he said, his story is so, coming from where he's come from to do what he's done and then to take this away from him here, it's such a disheartening event. I don't know. He's going to be emotional, just knowing you can't go out there and finish what you started with your teammates, and it's something that's meant so much to him. You just got to go out there, and you don't have to win the game for him, but we need to play well for him. And we want him to go out, as we all do, with a victory. So we'll do our best, and when we're in there in that locker room, who knows what we might be saying. We might shed some tears, some hugs, but we're going to try to get a win and make us all go out feeling pretty good.
His high school coach said he thinks he has NFL potential. Do you think, obviously he's raw, but do you think he does have that NFL potential?
I've never coached in the NFL, I can tell you that. Those guys, that's for them to decide. I just do what I can here for him. But he's got some ability.
Right here.
Coach Johnson, following up on the quarterback situation for Florida State, not knowing exactly who was going to be playing quarterback, how did that change the way you prepared your team? Since you just found out this week that Ponder was going to be in there?
It really didn't change how we prepared, because we knew all along we probably would have to be ready for either or. In talking to a couple of close friends at Clemson, they were facing a similar situation. And frankly, I agree with them. They don't run a different offense. They run their offense with both kids. The only thing that I feel like I've noticed on film is that Ponder will take them out of some plays and check some things more often. Maybe that's the game plan. Maybe that's just that kid's experience. What's made it more difficult for us is you have to be prepared to defend all the things that those two different kids do so well. Ponder checks a lot of the three-step passes and against bad defensive looks that they can't run the ball. Manual checks to the option, gets the ball out on the edge. You got a different problem, but you got a major problem. They're both very talented. Obviously, Christian's a much more experienced player. They think he's probably the better player. They wouldn't be playing him with limited practice. But it's been a difficult preparation, to make sure we've got a complete package. And sometimes in these bowl situations, you've got 13 to 15 practices, and you almost can overdo. You got to be careful about trying to do too much against whatever they have, and then all of a sudden you haven't got anything really polished. But those two kids make it difficult, even more so.
And also with that, Ellis, Florida State spreads the ball around to their backs and receivers. No one guy really has it the most. How difficult has that been to prepare for and try to get everybody under control?
It's been very difficult, and if you go back and look at us through the season, I think you'd have to say that we've played better against people who try to run football and play a more physical brand. Our kids play hard and they play physical. We've had some mental mistakes and other things where when you spread us out, we've had some guys out of position. And I think that they do a good job of both. Now, having a tight end out, we're expecting a little bit more spread. 4 wides, 3 wides, 2 back, 3 wides, those type of things. And so we've kind of tilted the practice reps in the last few days that way. But I'm sure they've got a good backup player, and we're certainly going to see the tight end offense. But it makes it very hard. And then we've got a guy like Ponder who can throw it around and stretch you. Or you got a kid like Manuel who can run it when you spread out the field, stretch the field with 4 wides. Again, you got 2 different problems. You got a major problem.
Right here.
Sean, with Garrett out, Jerome King, he'll start in that guard spot, and somebody else.
No, Terrence Campbell will start at left guard for us. Jarrell's going to be able to play him in left tackle, left guard position if we need to. We'll go with that route.
Right here. Back.
Sean, Marcus's ball security, how impressed have you been with that, particularly since he's a freshman?
I mean, anytime you go through the season, you do what he's done, you've got to be impressed, especially the times that, these guys up front missing blocks and he gets hit right smack in the mouth. I mean, he's holding on to that thing so well. Him as a person, him as an athlete, you got to look to him or look to a guy like him and just say, wow, how he's raised, how he's coached in high school, now how he's coached here in South Carolina by Coach Graham. He takes to coaching really well. He didn't hold on to the ball as well as he should have in high school, and coming in here and he's taking what Coach Graham has taught him to do by carrying the ball and how to protect things. He's done a great job. So we're real blessed to have both he and Coach Graham here on our staff.
Coach Johnson, you mentioned a minute ago that you were talking with some folks at Clemson, I imagine, about Florida State. I'm curious, are there any unwritten rules about, I feel okay crossing conference lines to talk to this guy or sharing with somebody, and does it change whether it's bowl or regular season?
No, I don't think so. A lot of times we will find that conference teams won't share some of the things they have, but the guy I was talking to, this 6-year-old over here was named after him, so he was pretty helpful. But we got a pretty good friendship. But that's pretty common. I mean, you just call, you share some feelings about what you saw on film and so forth, and say, yeah, we agree or whatever. But there is a little bit more, I guess, when it's one of your conference teams. For example, if Oregon called and want to talk about Auburn, I wouldn't be that excited about sharing that. I'm an SEC guy, so. But it's pretty common. There are a lot of things throughout the season that are shared by, people against common opponents and sharing ideas and things.
Time for a couple more. All right, last chance. I think anyone over here.
Coach Elliott, Coach Jenkins said that y'all were going out to dinner tonight. How'd that come about? What do you hope to get out of him?
I think that was put together here by the Chick-fil-A Bowl Committee, so, I don't know what we're going to get out of it. Probably not a lot of X and O talk, I would imagine. It's just an opportunity to get to know one another a little bit better and enjoy a good meal, enjoy the rest of this bowl week, and have a little bit of fun, relaxing time together.
Can you pick the brain of a guy who's been around coaching the offensive line for so long, as long as he has?
I don't think at dinner tonight's the time to be doing that. He's a guy that probably wants to go out and just relax a little bit. Sometimes you got to get away from this football and clear your head and just think about some other stuff, and that's probably more so what we'll do tonight.
Sean, just overall your first year at USC, how has it been? Has it been more challenging than you expected, about the same, maybe a little less? How has it been overall?
It's been real exciting. I came into this season not expecting, I didn't have really any expectations. We had a limited number of offensive linemen. I really didn't know how good the quality was, whether it was good or bad, and we had to develop as a group and as a team and see where we might end up. I knew we had talented players around us. I knew we had a solid defense. So I was really excited about the fact that if we can put together something more so a little bit better than average on offense, we could be a pretty good football team. And then when Marcus coming on board and Alshon Jeffrey, Steven Garcia playing well, it all came together. And then the offensive line, they haven't played great, but they played well enough to win some pretty big ball games. So I've been pretty pleased. It's been a fun experience. It's something we want to continue building on this week and into Friday night, and hopefully, somewhere around 11:45 midnight come New Year's, that I can look back on this season and say, hey, it could be one of the best seasons ever South Carolina's ever had. So it could be a real good night.
Back here.
Sean, were you proud that your guys won the eating contest the other night? You expect to do well in the milkshake contest?
Well, Coach Johnson brought his dog along, so when we had that guy up under the table, and so they were feeding the beef. Nah,
that may be a violation. We're going to have to look into that.
I told those guys, I said, listen, we want to win Friday night. I don't care about this eating contest. Y'all enjoy it, but don't kill yourself. We only got about 5 of you guys to go out there and play, so be careful. But I guess we won that pretty handily.
Any predictions for the milkshakes today?
I don't know. These guys, unless they have about 2 or 3 weeks to prepare, they don't do so well. So
we'll give them about 5 minutes. So right here.
Ellis, who's maybe an unsung guy for your defense this year? A guy maybe doesn't get enough credit. Maybe Antonio, Melvin, guy like that.
Yeah, Antonio's really had a good year off and on, made some big plays for us. A guy I'm really proud of is Josh Dickerson. I didn't have him penciled in as a starter coming into it, and I think he started every game. And he barely played at all last year. I think even Stronger had more plays at the line of scrimmage than he did previous season. So I really feel like he's a guy that's been overlooked. Mike linebacker is critical in not only in playing, but in setting your defense, quarterbacking your defense, and some of those things. I'm really proud of him the way he's taken on that duty. Rodney, I think, will probably be better next year than he was this year. That knee will continue to get better. But he just never was back to his form. And Josh, I think, carried that load and did a very good job with it year-round.
Anything else? Right here.
Coach Johnson, for y'all to win the East this year, I think it's easy for someone on the outside to say, well, it was a down year for the East and so forth. Things kind of went their way. But looking forward, is there any reason to think that y'all can't continue what you started this year?
Well, I don't think there's any reason to think you can't. But I think when you go back and look at the number of close football games, look at all the factors that went into it, and I don't mean to turn into a media person all of a sudden. When you look at the number of losses that everybody sustained in the conference and those type of things, you just have to kind of be realistic. It's always going to be a tough year, in this conference. We've got a lot of players back and really got a lot of experience coming back, but we lose some key people. And it took us 4 or 5 weeks to figure out how do we cover for the losses that Eric Norwood took with him in pass rush, and in just that respect. And it will take some adjustment next year to replace Lottie and Cliff. Those guys have been starting now 8 years between them, I think. And that's a lot of experience in the trenches, which is one of the most critical places. And we don't have a lot of depth there. So while you look at it and say, oh, you got 7 people coming back, starters and all this, I think sometimes it can be a little misleading about the true depth and quality of the football team. So I don't know where we are. Somebody asked that question earlier about turning the corner. I think we made a big step this year because I think our players know that we can play with the best people in this conference. But I think that when you talk about building a program, there are a lot of other things involved than 3 big victories. You can have a team or you can have a program. The team wins some games on a given year, and the program is there every year. And I don't know if we're there or not, at this point or not.
Okay, back here.
Ellis, I know you were asked this question back in Columbia about play the secondary, and I think you felt like people put too much blame on individuals, big plays over the top. But an offense like Florida State, is their ability to strike deep. Is that still a concern for you? breakdowns back there?
Absolutely. My comments though earlier were about the fact that it's kind of like the quarterback. Quarterback throws an interception, everybody blames quarterback. They don't know the receiver broke the route off at the wrong time, or the protection broke down and the quarterback got hit in the arm, or what have you. So life in the secondary is very similar. When there's a glaring mistake back there, everybody sees it. Some of the deep balls that got hit previous game, we got a busted blitz. And the defensive back is playing the technique exactly the way you tell him to play it, but there's no blitz. Okay, and then one of the first balls is hit. There's a guy that looks like he's getting beat in coverage. There's supposed to be a post player who wasn't there. So my point was, every time you have a big play on the passing game, everybody thinks the secondary is wrong. And oftentimes they're not. Somebody else is wrong. But we've had too much inconsistency. The thing that bothers me back there is inconsistency. And that is an area where you can't have that. The ball rolls through the second baseman's legs, you got an extra base. And it rolls through the center fielder's legs, you got to run. And that's what life's all about back there. So we've got some playmakers, we've got some aggressive guys, we've got some tough guys. We know they'll hit, we know they can run, but you can't be wrong that many times. You got to be more consistent. And this team they'll test you, no question about it. If you're going to get double moves every game, it tells you you're not getting very much pass rush. Because to do those things, you got to know you got time to do it. So there are a lot of things that need to be corrected other than the defensive backs. But they will test us. They've got good skill, and they've got two very good quarterbacks. Obviously, they're good up front, so it'll be a big test.
All right, time for one more. Going once. Anybody? All right, that'll wrap it up. Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you.